niśhā sarva-bhūtānāṁ tasyāṁ jāgarti sanyamī yasyāṁ jāgrati bhūtāni niśhā paśhyato muneḥ. Hello friends, welcome to my channel All Things Spiritual. In today's video, we will look at the verse 62 of chapter 2. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel if you like the video. The meaning of the verse is that what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. You may understand the point that when it's night for all beings, it's the time of awakening for the sage of the steady mind. But what about the time of awakening of all beings is the night of the introspective sage? Shouldn't the sage be awake, and why should he be asleep when we are all awake? If you didn't understand this, I'm sorry to have confused you, but the statement might confuse you that if a wise man has to go to sleep for some reason, what use would it be if he or she were asleep when everyone else is awake? We perceive this world through our senses and we make up our own judgments due to the reason that the world is all that we know that is around us. It comes up when we awaken and goes away when we are asleep. The waking world, therefore, we have our own struggles that brings us to the cusp of our living life, and at times we break down with the amount of stress that we cannot handle it anymore. In such a life, there are multiple fires burning. The job is not satisfactory, my boss is very demanding, my marriage is not doing well, my health is taking its toll, and I just can't take it anymore. I want to give up, and life is so hard. This is the waking state of a person with an unsteady mind. He or she is just totally surrendered into the world of Maya around them and doesn't know their own Atman. The days are very stressful and the life is just a big bumpy ride and there is absolutely no happiness in it. The contrary to such a state is that of the sage of the steady mind. He is very intelligent and has understood the tricks of the world and what they put him or her through. He sees his job and understands that he has to just work through his troubles and totally understands the play of Maya, and he has given himself up to his or her own Atman and is not worried about how bad his or her boss is, but he is ready to just give his best shot at whatever he or she is doing. They do not get bogged down by their married life. They remain steady during the trials and tribulations that they have to go through. Fires are burning, but they are steady within their own self. The person with such a steady mind does not give up and he finds hope in every which way he or she can. And to every obstacle, he or she finds an opportunity because he or she is awake and understands the play of Maya. All the bumps are just then smooth sailing rides for such a sage. Stress. What is stress? Where is the stress? He or she may ask. Such a stress has now captured Arjuna just before the start of the war. He was asleep all the while when the discussion of the war was taking place and the parties were taking sides. But now he is becoming awake to the idea that there is a fire burning around him and this he cannot contain. He wants to run away from this fire. He has been intelligent in the worldly activities until now and he is now confused at the start of the war, for he has lived his entire life in a sense of self-gratification. And Lord Krishna is telling him about this other intellectual sage who is introspective and awake to the path of self-realization. Activities of such an introspective sage or a thoughtful man are night for the persons who are worldly absorbed. Such materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of their own self. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic man. The sage feels transcendental pleasure and he has a gradual advancement in the spiritual path, and whereas the man in the materialistic activities, being asleep to the Atman, dreams of only sense pleasures, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed due to his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by any material reaction. Sri Krishna is conveying that those people who take keen interest in their senses are as good as a person who's asleep and who recognizes nothing around him or her. So also the knowledge of the Atman is unknown to him or her. It's just akin to a madman who is unaware of what he is doing. The one who meditates is known as a muni, and the word paśhyato means the one who perceives. Such people with material intelligence cannot perceive the ultimate truth of the Atman. Few may perceive the ultimate truth during the night, while others may not be able to do so. The latter are the ones who have entangled themselves into sense pleasures. They see nothing except what they can experience with their senses. This is due to being captivated by their senses and unable to concentrate their mind in meditation. But like the sun that is shining is perceived by everyone, but external conscious is oblivious, for it is focused on the enjoyment of the outer world. A story in relation to this is that King Janaka, the father of Sita of the Ramayana, was one of the favorite students of sage Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a sage who was one of the earliest philosophers of Advaita, which is non-duality of Atman and Brahman. He would always keep an empty front seat in his classes so that if Janaka would stop by, he could sit there and listen to his teachings. Yajnavalkya had many bright students, and some were dull also. The dull ones complained amongst themselves that sage Yajnavalkya valued wealth of King Janaka more than the knowledge of his bright students, and that was why he always kept an empty seat in the front. One day, King Janaka was listening to the discourse by sage Yajnavalkya at his forest ashram along with other students. There was a huge forest fire at a distance. It was moving everywhere rapidly, and one of the soldiers came running to the king and informed him that, "Lord, the forest fire has burnt parts of our palace." "Go do what is necessary then," he said. He asked them to contact others and then turned around and kept listening to the discourses. The other students of the sage ran in various directions to save their clothes and other valuables, while King Janaka was listening very attentively to the words of sage Yajnavalkya. When the other students of sage Yajnavalkya came back after the forest fire had receded, they saw Janaka still sitting there, fully involved in the learning and not bothered about the kingdom. They felt ashamed. Sage Yajnavalkya then said, "The king with all his wealth, queen and palace, wasn't as much worried as you were for the sake of your torn loin clothes. Now you must have realized why I keep an empty seat for him to occupy whenever it is possible for him to come in his busy life." So you see, King Janaka was not worried about the fires, while all the other students were directionless when the fire started. How could King Janaka achieve such a state? Is this even possible? When one is the knower of the Atman, he knows that there won't be anything to be worried about. The Atman, our Lord, takes care of us all, and the sage then sits there fully focused on his spiritual progression. How did you like the video? And listening to the story, where would you position yourself? Do you position yourself as a student or as King Janaka? Please let me know in the comment section. We all like to be in King Janaka's position, but we need to make ourselves headstrong to be able to be awake while others are asleep. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.